Hey everybody, today I'm going to talk about how I told my daughter that I was an alcoholic and a drug addict. Thankfully, and I'm so grateful for this, I got sober before she was 3 years old and she doesn't have any memories of my alcoholism or drug addiction, though she does have one experience that she recalls, and she was about 2 years old and she had just gotten up in the morning and she was thirsty. Well, I had a cup on my bedside table and she picked it up and looked at it and it was clear, and she took a big old swig and immediately made a disgusted face. And inside of it was vodka with ice that had melted from the night before, and she still remembers that. But when it comes to telling her, my plan wasn't to tell her for years. I was thinking, maybe middle school where she's older and she can understand this. And, alcoholism can be very heavy, and I genuinely didn't know what to say, so I was even going to talk to a therapist to help me find the right words. When she was about 5 or 6 years old, I went to a meeting called a birthday night. And a birthday night is when people pick up chips for incremental years of sobriety. And my friend had asked me to introduce her because there is somebody that does introduce you and they say some nice things about you before handing you your chip. And my daughter and her daughter were there, and they were in the kitchen. This is the home group that there was a very segregated kitchen area, and it was our turn to go. And I walked up to the front of the room and stood behind the podium, and I introduced myself. Hi, I'm Lauren and I'm an alcoholic. And I immediately looked to my left and I saw my daughter and her daughter standing there looking at us. And I remember really not freaking out about that. She had been in the meetings before. I thought she had heard me introduce myself before, and I figured it was water under the bridge, no big deal. When we left that night, I went and put her in her car seat, got her buckled, and sat down in the front seat. And the first question out of her mouth was, "You're an alcoholic?" And I remember thinking, oh my God, sweet baby Jesus, this child is at an age where she will tell everything to the lady checking us out at the grocery store. So I thought I was screwed, but it opened up a dialogue of me telling her in friendly terms for her age that yes, I was an alcoholic. Yes, I'm in recovery, but this is something, and I use the concept of anonymity, that we keep private. This is something where, we don't talk about it with other people. And very surprisingly to me, she never broke my anonymity, which very much shocked me. These days, I tell her stories about my alcoholism. She knows that I'm a drug addict as well, and I also share their stories. I give her, I hope, experience, strength, and hope, kind of hearing the stories and kind of what I walk through, and then thinking about where I'm at now these days in sobriety. We have, generational alcoholism in our family, and I don't know what her story's going to be, but I'm grateful that she also will go to an open meeting with me and kind of hear the different shares and also other people's experiences in there. So again, very unexpectedly, she found out much younger than I was planning on that I was an alcoholic, but it ultimately did work out. And I'm grateful these days that I can be open and honest with her. So thanks.